So on behalf of Carer Support Cumbria, which is the 5 carers organisations, Carlisle Carers, which is Dawn Kenyon, Eden Carers, Danny, where are you? Okay. South Lakeland Carers, Mike Seaton will be here later on today. There is representatives from South Lakeland Carers here, over there. And West Cumbria Carers, Sue Whitehead.
You're all really aware of your own organisations, Carlisle Carers, Eden Carers, West Cumbria Carers, South Lakes Carers and Furness Carers. Well, way back in 2014, in order to bid for work that we were already doing, we had to form a consortium and tender for that work. And in order to do that, we had to form an organisation all together, and we called it Carer Support Cumbria. We still all operate as our individual organisations that you know and hopefully love. But in order to deliver on the contract for adult care, so that's assessment and support services, we had to form the company called Carer Support Cumbria. So that's what you see today, and that's not to take away from the fabulous work that the individual organisations do, but that's just a little explanation of who Carer Support Cumbria are. So this conference is about everybody in the county. It's about carers in the county. It's about getting your opinions on what you think works, what you'd like, what doesn't work, what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So it's really important that during the workshops that you actually get across what you feel about the services that you've got, what you think that's missing, what you think that you'd like to see more of, what works for you and what doesn't. We are hoping, or we will, put a report together at the end of this conference with all the feedback that we've got from you, all the information. We'll write a report and we'll actually make sure that that report gets to the people that matters. So that's the politicians, that's your councillors, that's commissioners in adult social care, as many people as we can to get out there so that we can actually tell them what you as carers actually want to see for services in Cumbria.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for sharing your voice, because that's what's so important from the workshops this morning. It is your voice that counts. So this workshop scenario this morning will take roughly about an hour, and you will be rewarded by lunch. How good is that? There will be 2 objectives to the workshop. The first objective is to look at what is known as the carers strategy. And this is something that Cumbria County Council have to do in order to enable you to get the best out of the services that you want and they can provide. But it's also about appreciating your standpoint, because they don't want to write a carers strategy and it doesn't touch base with you. So this is where it's really vital that you share exactly what you want. And then the second objective is looking at what your specific carers organisation provides for you, an area of service or an area that you would like them to provide. Again, this is something that is local to you to meet your needs.
those that are interested, there's 2 taster sessions. There's some Tai Chi behind the curtains here, and in the dropout room through the double doors, there's some yoga sessions. If you feel you want to take part, please just go to the groups and just take part after.
Yes, I'm Peter Cannon. I'm Chair of Carer Support Cumbria, who are behind today's event.
The first one about financial support, the group went round and picked their most important point out. So the one that attracted the most attention was we don't know what grants are available, so it's about getting that information. On looking for investment in social care at number 2, the most popular comment on that was that the benefit system is too complicated. Looking at improving carers' health, we're looking at maintaining funding so that softer areas, for example coffee mornings, lunch clubs and outings, to maintain our social life as part of maintaining our overall health and well-being is important. And on about strengthening rights for carers, there's a parallel drawn with paid maternity leave for people to become parents, and perhaps we need something similar, looking at a similar right for carers. And on the own theme, the predominant issue for our group was issues around supporting people with mental health issues, which we reflected in what we write up.
Around finance, what came across very strongly was that it needs to be a lot more accessible, a single point of contact for all carers relating to finance, so that they could just go to one place to get the information that they're needing, and simplicity is something that they're asking for. Point number 2 was investment in health and social care. What came across was that this concept is actually quite difficult for carers to understand and comment on, because it's understanding how that would actually directly impact on them as carers. Improving carers' health, we've got more recognition of carers by health and social care services, and that's about the job that they actually do. That needs to be recognised. More information, openness and honesty, and more support and recognition for their contribution. Number 3, strengthening the rights for carers. Once again, we have that better recognition of carers and their specific needs. So it was about identifying individuals' needs and recognising how much they actually save health and social care. Their own theme, it's around better communication and support in all areas. So communication is coming across as a really strong theme right across all of them. Support in all areas, and information sharing is actually essential.
Okay, so for theme 1, improve financial support, it's about recognition on the investment and the time carers have to spend on supporting the carer. It's like running a small business actually. The amount, cared for, apologies. It's about like running a small business. There's a lot of admin involved, there's a lot of liaison with other people, there's the petrol costs and obviously the telephone costs as well. So being a carer is being a business for your cared for.
Excuse me, there's a lot to do with agitation and breakdowns in marriages. It comes under there.
Yeah, so it's a very valid point, Michael. It's about the internal dynamic within the family unit. Second, investment in social care and health, looking for specific advice on how to get the best deal through their through that investment. They want people to actually walk the talk. Thirdly, improve the carer's health. Early intervention is necessary because it's about health promotion and illness prevention, which is the overarching caveat to that one. Fourth was strengthen the rights for carers. This really looked at employers actually, the role of the employers to recognise and value a carer, and for the carers to have the confidence to actually challenge the employers regarding their own rights. And the theme that came out was about appreciating the carer, and for the government to structure support around the carer and again walk the talk, which is similar to, dare I say, Cumbria County Council.
Comments on the services that the local carer group provides.
So again, these are comments from people who use services in Carlisle and Eden. A lot of positive comments from people who used services. We got sidetracked in our discussion. Instead of reviewing services per se, there was an overall view that there was perhaps needs to be more communication, because the discussion started prompting questions. What's that? Not heard of that. Haven't come across that. How do I access that? So as a group we started sharing what we knew. So we had a discussion about carers' budgets and emergency card and counselling services, and people were sharing their experiences to help other carers on the table reach an understanding of what's available. So there's a lesson in that, isn't there, about how we get that message across, about what, you know, overwhelmingly people appreciate. Staff do a great job, reassured by having a carers card. The carers assessment gave me a chance to reflect on what is important for my health and well-being. That conversation allowed me to do that. On the other side, comment was made on how the process of the carers assessment is so detailed and thorough and goes on forever. That's out with our control, but what we can control is how we deliver that to you and how we work with you to make that palatable and make that accessible. So there was a really good reflection within the group, and I appreciate what you did about sharing with each other and supporting each other, and hopefully some people there got some information that they needed. And I think that summarises. So communication is key, which kind of came out amongst the themes that we picked, amongst the strategy. It's all right having it, but it's knowing about it and being able to access.
The first comment that we had was West Cumbria Carers, invaluable resource, good relationship, so well done. But, there's always a but, isn't there? Information, the newsletter and the website is valuable. It works for some, but one of the comments was that some people who don't have computer access and are not aware of the fact that they can actually get it delivered to them, there was that little bit of, well, I don't know anything about that, very similar to Michael's group, that there was a little bit of that communication was about how do you access the newsletter and website. Trips and outings are incredibly important, very valuable. They need to be reinstated because some of them are not as frequent as they used to be. The counselling service is a very valuable service. It needs to stay. There was a request that if it could be considered to be more than the 6 weeks that it is at the moment, that would be valuable to some of the carers. The men's group, we were told that that's very useful, but it needs to be more frequent. So what they're asking for generally is more and more of what you're offering them. The ladies in the group did actually say that it was a bit discriminatory because they were feeling that their groups had disappeared, and why were the men having their groups? So they're wanting their groups back. The volunteer driver service is very useful. People find that incredibly helpful. We went back again to talk about the newsletter because there was those comments about it. How could we improve on the newsletter? And I think the thing that we fall into, we're putting things into categories like the services we put up there, but actually some people don't know what those are, so we maybe need to put a little bit of an explanation beside the services that we're providing so people get a better feel for what we're actually delivering. There was a request that at the next carers conference there could be our groups, instead of pulling them out into each individual area, that carers could actually mix so that everybody had a feel for what's happening in other areas, and we could maybe pull some of the good things that are happening in other areas into it and share that information. Carers Champions. There were some people who didn't really understand what the Carers Champions programme was about, but they did think that it was an incredibly good idea, and that those people within the community services like our pharmacies, etc., who do know that people walking through the doors are a carer and can be supportive to them in that way, that's something that they would really like through a lot of the services that we use. Benefits clinics working incredibly well. They find that incredibly useful to get that first information service before they actually move on to getting, so they've got a grounding in what benefits are available, etc. and emergency grants. There was a little bit of more explanation that was needed for the emergency grants. And the final comment was, if you need them, they're there.
So this is from Barrow, Furness and South Lakes. Carers organisations make brilliant links with other networks, so there's a huge resource there. So if you're not necessarily getting it from the carers specific service, they know a man who does. Information shared via newsletters was valuable. Activities where carers can come together and share and talk and network was equally invaluable. Volunteers to support these tangible activities, really important to have activities to facilitate that conversation and support. And an area for improvement, which was about specific support, and I think it's already been mentioned about therapies, counselling, etc. And equally more training to be made available, like, for example, manual handling of how to move your cared for so the carer doesn't become ill and the bad back, etc. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Now, we have a few minutes, well, 5 minutes, just for some general discussion. And one of the points that I would like to just tease out a little bit further, if I may, came from Mike when he talked about his group.
Carer has a mental health issue and the other individual has a mental health issue. They both come together at the same time, then unless the people who are dealing with them can latch on to that, it can be incredibly stressful for both individuals and it can be stressful for the staff involved. And it can make the person angry when dealing with what they would see as officials who don't understand.
What it is, I wanted to tell you that if somebody is very ill, got a heart condition, and then the partner or the carer is looking after that person, starts to become ill as they get older, what happens then?
I don't have an answer for that. Sorry, I don't have an answer for that. I guess things get worse, to be honest. Very complicated.
Well, there's a mental breakdown for a start.
Yeah.
The mental breakdown is that they can't cope with each other.
Yeah.
And they've got to have an understanding. That's where West Cumbria carers come in.
Yeah.
I think I would have had a nervous breakdown or a total breakdown if they hadn't done.
I'm going to retire in 3 weeks' time from my job, but only because I've been pushed. The workplace, unfortunately, didn't understand, and I think really what needs to be done is, in my case, and I think maybe for a lot of carers here as well, is that it wants a note sent to head office, which is in Parliament, and then a letter sent to my 2 managers on understanding of bipolar or illness, because they don't understand and are very, very callous regarding that.
I live in West Cumbria. We're a rural district. One of my concerns and main comments was, and I'm sure you're all carers here, is save our beds in the cottage hospitals. A lot of services are moved now from West Cumberland Hospital. We're all finding the same things. Everything's going to Carlisle. It's transport, it's through, it's more pressure on you, it's more on our services. We're still trying to keep our cottage hospitals as best we can. I know we're still fighting for them, but I still feel that this is a main concern and a help for our carers as well. I mean, I'm a carer. We've recently had family in Hensingham. We went, even one night they were transferring people from Hensingham. It was after midnight to Carlisle. You know, it's a long way to go when there's still the cottage hospitals you know, was trying to still fight for them, and I'm sure there are a lot of people here would still like to keep the cottage hospitals open for support.
Thank you very much.
Hello everybody, and thanks so much for involving us. I'm here with Sophie and Becky from the Wordsworth Trust. We're based just across the road with the Wordsworth Museum and Dove Cottage, and it's been an absolute joy working with the writing groups across the county. I don't think any of us were very sure how it would work out when we set off, but it's worked out beautifully. And just as a sort of prelude, very appropriate Wordsworth word, to our bit of the afternoon, I wonder if we could just say a big thank you to Audrey Harrison, who's offered to recite a poem from memory, and a very beautiful poem it is too.
This is a poem, Lucy. Lucy was a girlfriend of William Wordsworth, and this is a poem that I learned at school and have never ever forgotten. She dwelt among the untrodden ways, beside the springs of Dove, a maid whom there were none to praise and very few to love. A violet by a mossy stone, half hidden from the eye, fair as a star when only one is shining in the sky. She dwelt alone, and few would know when Lucy ceased to be, for she is in her grave, and all the difference to me.
The cottage itself was just so precious to the Wordsworths, and this was the natural link really that we thought when we were first talking about doing this work together, was that the Wordsworths themselves, although they lived in the late 1770s right through to the mid-1800s, they had very many of the same experiences that people in the room share. They cared very much about each other, and this house in this small hamlet on the edge of Grasmere was the first real home that William and his sister Dorothy shared after they'd been separated as children. And I think the picture here shows that home was very much at the centre of how they then set out to make their adult lives together and to grow their families together. But the caring and sharing that was exhibited in that house is recorded in the poetry, the letters, the journals, and was very precious to them. Thanks, Graham. So to just say a little bit about the workshops, I've mentioned what pleasure they were, and indeed they were. I think we had 9 workshops across the county. I think there were 27 people who were involved in those workshops, and many of them are here today, and many of them have said that they'll be happy to read. Some of them have said they might read, and others have said that they'll be happy to read for other people if anyone feels a bit nervous. But I hope that at the end of the session, when you leave the conference and you take this booklet away, you'll share our sort of pleasure in it, because there's so much in it. I'm really grateful to Karen and Carlisle who put it together in such a lovely format, and I hope it'll be a really special souvenir for people. We certainly think it reflects a lot of the hard work as well as the wonderful engaging times that we had around the county. Really what was so lovely about the sessions was that there was a lot of emotion and there were a lot of difficult things that people wanted to talk about, but there was also an awful lot of fun with it. And what was interesting to me, I suppose, at the beginning was not knowing to what degree people would want to talk about their experience as carers. They've been set up obviously as opportunities for carers to get together and explore some of the ideas and experiences that they might have in common. But it was very interesting, and it is mentioned in the course of the booklet, that some people arrived, maybe they were nervous about poetry, maybe they didn't like poetry, but some people certainly wanted to say that they'd got those 2 hours or 3 hours out of the rest of their week or the rest of their month, and the last thing they wanted to think about was being a carer, whereas there were other people who were really just raring to have those conversations and start to record it in poetry. And what I thought was wonderful about the opportunities that we had over those months that we met was that it didn't matter where people came from in terms of what they wanted to do. They were very friendly, open, accessible, supportive sessions. And I think whether people wanted to write about being a carer or being cared about, or whether they wanted to take a complete flight of fancy, that was all possible. And I hope you'll see that there is a selection that reflects all of that in the writing that's collected here.
I got to bed one night thinking about this poetry day the next day, and I thought, it's not really my thing, poetry. Poetry's not really my thing. could I find anything to rhyme with that? So it goes like this. Not really my thing. Poetry is not my thing. I much prefer to have a sing. Go outside and take a look at what's around or read a book. Poetry is not my thing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Gardening gives me much more pleasure. That is my idea of leisure. Maybe I was quick to judge and only needed a little nudge to grab some paper and some ink, sit right down and have a think.
I absolutely love writing. I find it's the only way to deal with a lot of things. But when I thought everybody could understand like the same, so yeah. I hear you speaking. This is dedicated to my mum, but I thought everybody understand as well. I hear you speaking in the wind, standing in this field. Shimmers of yellow, bright blue sparks of vibrations, silky pink. I see you standing out there under the sun, surrounded by a million flowers. Your smile says it all, even though I see the nettles in your feet. I too am sitting on similar nettles. Although you can't see the invisible ones, and I can't show you the nettles stuck in me, I know you feel them too. Dark blue bursts of sparkling light shimmer on your gleaming light, a running river that is deeper than the ocean, but sparkles more than the stars. I see you stand in the night, under the stars, crying in the same moonlight. When I'd seen you swimming in the deep, battling until you wanted to sleep, I whispered with a tear, "Hold on, Mum, just hold on." I got a boat and kept you afloat. You got a paddle and decided to row right into the raging river, into a storm. I took a turn down a different piece of river. You said, "Don't worry, my dear, Mum is here." Flashes of dark, flashes of fear, flashes of flowers in the stormy wind. I then said, "When the sun sets and rises, I will be crying the same tears."
Hi, I'm Iris, Emma's mum. In the void, Emma, my daughter, screaming with pain, lying on the hospital bed. Tears flow down my face as I am unable to do more than hold her hand, to stroke her hair, desperate for a doctor to help her. Full of meds and pain, she cries, "Mum, Mum, Mum." She begs me to stop the pain. I call for the nurse again, but they said that Emma had the total limit of meds. Watching my daughter go through this on a very regular basis is heart-wrenching. The night is vast, but closes in on Emma and me. I know there are more hours of pain for my beloved daughter Emma. I will sit here and wait with you. Emma is a true-blooded warrior, fighting through Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 3, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, chronic nerve, joint and muscle pain, fatigue. Emma carries on the next day. Pain subsided to 7 out of 10. Yes, her pain is usually medium to high. How Emma keeps going, I don't know. The courage Emma shows is amazing. My wonderful and beautiful daughter, Emma.
It was just so powerful knowing that the conversations that we were having in the afternoons, which we really, were full of sort of pleasure and conversation and lightheartedness, seemed to give people the space to explore some of those sort of really strong experiences and to have them captured so honestly. I think all of the workshops were really marked by the honesty and directness of people, but also by the imagination that they used in writing and creating something out of that experience. I mean, it really has been, and I hope you're getting the measure of it, an extraordinary experience, really.
What a day we're having today. I live with hope in my heart. Sharp daggers of grief pierce beautiful words. People can be as near or as far as you want them to be. The thoughts in your head are the only things you can really control. Oh,
Cold like the fire blazed with light. It was always wet, but in June. Smell the damp wood and quaff the smoke. A warm chair without a care, and we walked quietly away and sat down by the stream window.
Thank you.
What's in the box? I wish I knew. Holidays, happy times and happy memories with lots of love and laughter and tears. My secret space, well worn, battered and torn. Family memories up in the loft. The suitcase is empty now, but there is time to fill it. Sometimes my head feels empty, and other times full to the brim. If I had the wings of a dove and the dirty black something of a crow, I wouldn't need a suitcase to fly to the top of Ben Nevis and shh on my enemies below.
This one was inspired by the postcard with the fireplace. Oh, thank you.
So it's entitled The Fireplace. A warming glow, hot embers splutter and chestnuts pop. Oh, what to cook for dinner tonight? Inspiration to solve my plight. In the icy cold of a winter's night, throw another log on the fire. The embers burning brightly. The smell is so beautiful.
This was also inspired by the fireplace. And if I could just say that, having looked at it and all the different handwritings, the only one I couldn't read was my own.
I think Wordsworth would have said the same. It's why he got his sister to write his stuff.
That's about the only thing we got. The chair by the fire, reminiscent of home, toasting toes and tea time toast. The fire burns in the hearth, the fire burns in my heart. Sleepy hearth beckons me to slumber. Today I've learnt to relax and let go. The chair beside the fire once was my father's. Now it sits beside the fire for my husband, another old farmer.
Hi, I'd just like to say this poem is inspired.
We'll be the judge of that.
We felt the fear, so here it goes. The poet's in us, rather like the wind blows. So often on these occasions, I feel I'm making it up as I go along. The tortoise slowly turns to remember what he thought. Lost in all wonder, what is this all about? Inspire me, William, or should I do as you did? Call on Dorothy.
The yellow daffodils in spring, I lay on my couch and look into my garden, inspired by pictures, many images. To sit and ponder, I could do with staying longer, sharing experiences, time and friendship. I'm at home on my couch. I really don't do poetry.
This was inspired by William's ice skates. Ice skates clipped onto my shoes. Open suitcase, what's inside? William's ice skates. The skates came off as I sat by the fire, slipping, sliding ungracefully. See the wood, how easy it marks. Oops, should have taken them off. The cottage is empty, where are they all? On the ice, ready to take a fall. Another day over and time for a rest, until she fell, a tumble and hurt her knee.
Thank you.
What's in a word? Wordsworth knew. Love is around us, all around us. Sitting here with my coffee, listening. A beautiful place for such a wonderful experience. I have a truly mad day.
This is our first and last collaboration, I believe. On a cold, wet, rainy day, misty, moody, green and grey. Time to care, time to share. Fear of forgetting, please remember all. There's no one there. Beautiful flowers everywhere. I like to dance in the rain. I love to hear the sound of birds singing. A thought to pack, a break to take. The beauty of a flower fed on manure.
Stitching by Rushlight, a bag for love letters. The post bag fills up with thoughts and messages, invitations, and bills. Addressed to me. But who am I? Drink to a post. A letter came from Africa today. I wish I could go there. From rich reds and blue, the letters flew. This is the voice of my husband, who I care for now. He's finding it very hard to find any words, and he certainly can't write anymore. But he has been a very splendid poet in his time. And he was a parish priest of Trepenna and All Hallows, which is up towards Wigton. And this is a poem about visiting somebody in Blennerhassett. And it's about that business. It is quite hard to talk to people sometimes when they're bereaved. But when it's come out of a caring situation, it can be even more difficult. It's called Parish Visit. Going about something quite different. Begging quiet entrance with nothing in my bag. I land on the other side of the red painted step, hoping things will take effect. The space in the house is 10 months old, and time has not yet filled it up, nor is the headstone carved. He died when he was 20, and she was practiced at drawing him back from the brink, cajoling in spoons of soup. We make little runs at understanding as the winter afternoon lights up the clothes on the rack. We make so many, the glow in the grate almost dips below the horizon, but does not quite go out. It is a timely hint, and I make for the door and the backyard, warmed by the tea, talking about things quite different.
I wandered lonely as a wall. I saw a falling, tumbling wall the other day, looking for the farmer to tell there was no one there. A neglected house. So the wall's still just a pile of stones. In winter, the water freezes, the ice expands. A wall should be made to move, ice moving stones so far it tumbles. The water and ice can move them. Check the quarry face every day. The stone can move a foot. Don't stand under it. You can see from below its arthritic form now exposed. You have to move them for safety. A 50-ton rock. They don't look very big, but they ain't half heavy. Think of all the millions of sea creatures that died to make it. There are fossils in limestone. Split the stone and smell the salt. Stone blown in to the making of bridges. Stone from Home Park Quarry, Gate Barrow Quarry, extinct now climbers, flowers and orchids.
The plants and drugs around us as we walk, the mushrooms, bluebells, cowslip, daffodils, inspiring conversations as we talk. Along the rugged pathways and the hills from Cumbria to Geordieland, we come across soaking up loveliness of the views escaping the everyday and humdrum, to chase away our worries and our blues. Blue carpets of bluebells stretch wide and free, red rose of Lancashire, white rose of York, and the Dutch fields of Lincolnshire fill us with glee. We see in our mind's eye, like a hawk, the day our journey comes to an end. These pictures are stored in future to spend.
I was thinking about today, I wondered what people would be hoping to get out of it, but I hoped what people would get out of it would be information, so they would find things interesting, and they would find some enjoyment. But also, I didn't quite expect quite so much emotion as that last session generated for me, and I'm sure for many others who are here today. So thank you very much for that. I don't know if any of you remember the organisation called Patient Public Involvement Forums, but about 15 years ago they commissioned me to do some work with carers, and working with the carer groups in Cumbria, I ran focus groups in each of the districts. And I had worked with carers before, so what I learnt from those focus groups was not necessarily any great surprise. The report I produced at the end of it was called Who Cares? But what I think I find surprising is that here we are 15 years on, and many of the themes that were coming out in the focus groups that I helped run 15 years ago are still the themes that carers are talking about today. It's about themes about the lack of recognition of the important role that carers play. It's about being recognised as a carer when you go to services and ask for help. It's about being more appreciated for the valuable work you do. And some of the other themes that come up when I spoke to carers 15 years ago came up again today, and that was how complicated it was to get help, how information was not available in a simple, easily understood way, and that people often needed assistance to understand information and how to get help. And that assistance can be provided by care organisations, and when it is offered, it is very much appreciated. The importance for carers to have events like this. When I first came in this morning, and I apologise again for my late arrival, I went into the focus group there, not focus group, the discussion group in that room, the West Cumbria one, and the first words I heard were, we really need more days like this one that we have today, so we can get together with other people and share thoughts, ideas, and get some companionship. I think being a carer can so often be so very isolating that days like today really are very valuable. And I think when money is tight, then money is often spent very much at the sharp or the heavy end of the services. And things like social activities can be left behind. And yet for carers, they are sometimes the things that keep them going. So let's hope for more days like today in the future. We also heard that we'd like to share experiences perhaps across the county with each other. So you can talk about how it's different in Furness to West Cumbria, how it's different from in Carlisle as it is to South Lakes. So maybe we'll bear that in mind for our next event, which I hope we'll have next year, and maybe something else similar, who knows, but it's something that we can perhaps look at. So I think it's Carers Support Cumbria, from my point of view, have found today very useful, very interesting, and it kind of reaffirms my belief in the value of the work that we do as carer groups and as an umbrella organisation, and how important it is that Carers Support Cumbria continues to get funding to provide the support that it offers to carers through the local carer groups. So those are my thoughts. Greater clarity, greater appreciation, and a support for social activities as well. There's lots of other things that will come out, and we're going to write a report which we will submit to adult social care. So just to finish, I'd like to say thanks. Thanks to the carers who came along today. I think the majority of people in the room are carers. I think we had 70 to 80 carers here today. So thank you very much. Thanks to Susan Allen and her team for running the workshop. That was great fun. And we look forward to the collection of poems that are pulled together from today. And thank you to the Daffodil Hotel, who have been very helpful and very accommodating in providing us with the accommodation we've used today. Thanks to Adult Social Care for their support. A special word for Karen Nugent, who produced the brochures and the poetry compilation, which is really very, very good indeed. And as someone said, will act as a memento of today's events. Thank you, Karen. We know that you did an awful lot of work in a very short space of time to produce that, so that was much appreciated as well. And thank you to all staff across all the care organisations. Thank you very much, and a safe journey home.
Hello, my name is Dot. I'm from West Cumbria Carers. Today has been a brilliant day. The social aspect has been brilliant, organisations being good, and the whole thing very interesting, very informative, and just a fabulous day.
What I found really helpful today, I'm a staff member, I work for West Cumbria Carers. It's been very helpful for me to sit in on another group and to hear the kind of comments that they have to make about the service provision. We offer very similar things. I think what came across from all the groups actually is how important the service is to them, how they really value the assessments, that it gives them the opportunity to talk about things that are important and valuable to them. And it's obviously that needs to continue. I think what was useful for me was to hear from other areas some things that we don't do in West Cumbria, but we could potentially replicate, so I'll be taking that back to my team. I think what's been really, really lovely is to hear the other carers, for carers to talk about their feelings and their thoughts as a carer and put that into poetry and then have the confidence to read and share with others. And a few people already have said to me what a lovely day this has been at the end of the day, so I'm very grateful.